Hello YouTubers, we're back. What seems to be a few seconds for me may have been a day or two for you. I don't know. Anyway, we're back for another session. We left off where we're waiting for this to dry over here, and we are getting ready to cut this piece out right here because it's already dry. We've installed this and marked it. We're waiting for this to dry. So it's probably pretty much dry by now. And so the way I like to cut these is you could freehand cut this and let your metal rest up against that line. But if you twist anyway and you take that cut, you take a chance on cutting this, and I've done that before, and then you're bumming because you've cut your project. So the best way is to play it safe. The way I like to do it is to put my blade up against this area and then push my ruler up against the blade so that I know that that blade's right there on that cut, and then I can just gently take the cut, okay? It makes that cut nice and flush. Same thing with this one. Put it down here. Push down with my finger. I could still rotate this. Put that in there. Push down. Then gently make a couple cuts. There's my piece. Okay? Same thing with this side. Let's go up here and push down, come up against that, push that over, push down, make a couple cuts following the knife, real nice and slow, gentle. All right, it gets that nice and cut. And same thing with this. Let's go ahead and push that down. Push this down, gentle cut, and voila, we have almost a nice perfect cut that's cut these edges right here. And then I still have a little cut right here because this tip technically is rounded, and when I cut 2 45s. So this little piece that's right here, this little piece right there, I'll need to freehand that off. And we do it that way. Just by coming around there and cutting that off, and then there's your piece. Okay. Then it makes for a nice piece right there. And then we could go ahead and sand that if we wanted to, which I'll probably go ahead and just take a couple swipes at it with some sandpaper. I think I'll just use some 240 grit, 220. Take a couple swipes one direction over the trash can. Just to double check. Just to make sure that we get Make sure we get a nice smooth little, take any burrs off, any leather burrs, if you will. And fine line. Brush. What wrong did I do with my leather brush? I've lost it. No, I haven't lost it. Ah, here it is. It's hiding behind my files. So we'll go ahead and give this a brush off. So brush that off like that, like so. Feel it with your finger. That's the way I like to feel edges, with my finger. So if I can feel this edge and it feels level, then I know it's level. If I feel that edge and I can feel that it's either other way, you can feel it better than you can see it. Okay? Once that's cut, sanded, just like we did, we will clean these pieces off. Discard those. We'll go ahead and mark with our dividers 4 millimeters apart. I always do my stitching at about 4 millimeters. Some people say 1/4 of an inch, you know. It's about the same difference. It's pretty close. I think 4 millimeters is about 5/32 of an inch. Actually, I'm sorry. So, exactly 4 millimeters is 5/32 of an inch. So, it's between a little more than an eighth, not quite a quarter. Anyway, I think it works, that 1/4 inch works best for most leather, which is about 4 millimeters. So if you took this after you drew it and measured it, it's going to be about 4 millimeters right on the money. Okay? So now that that's there like so, we'll take our, that's going to be much too big. So we'd have to drop down to a 4-prong, where that was a 6-prong. We always want to go one out, 1 tooth outside of the leather. We're going to want to punch it about right there. Yeah? So I'm just going to give it a little punch like so that I can show you how we do this. Now, coming up this way and then trying to transition, you'll notice the transition's not going to be identical, because this piece would be too close. That'll make that elongated. So what we want to do is we want to take a 2-prong, put this tip on the line and this tip in the hole. What that does is that gives us a little transition there. So it kind of gives us a little round the corner transaction issue, if you will. We'll do the same thing here. So come up. Put a little smack there. Come up, come around that corner. Come around there. And then from here, we're going to work our way to this point. Or sometimes we could work our way from this point. Sometimes it's better to work our way from this point and go back, because if we can have our tooth going either direction. So we can have this tooth in this direction or this direction, right there in that peak. That kind of gives us a center point for this wallet. And then we can just go ahead and adjust and see. Now see, like this one here fits pretty well. If I go in this hole all the way, it's kind of on the outside of this hole. So what I do is just kind of pick it up, move it back just a hair, which kind of divides the difference. Give it a little knock. And that looks really good. Same thing with this. We're gonna come back. It looks like it might have been a little bit crooked. So we're gonna give it one of those. So we haven't went all the way through yet. So we'll make sure that this is on the line. And then just kind of give that a little hammer. And then we can see that we'll put that right on the money with these. Give it a little hammer, and voila, there we go. So come up, we'll turn, we'll come up this way, turn, come down, turn, and we'll do the same thing on this side. So that's how we'll tackle that one. So I'm gonna finish punching this and stitching this off camera just to save time on the video, okay? What I'm gonna show you, since I showed you that side, now I'm gonna show you this side. So this side, same thing. Now, since I know that we're gonna put these two things together, like so, okay? This is gonna end up, this pocket is gonna end up about even with this pocket for the most part. It's gonna be pretty close, okay? This will be the inside, that'll be the outside. Okay, we've still got to cut this off, fall off, but this will be our hinge side. This will be our opening side, okay? Opening, that means where this is going to open like a, or I'm sorry, I take that back. This is going to be your hinge side, and this is going to be your open side. The reason I say that is because what we want to do is this will be our side that we will not punch until both of these are married together, okay? This side, we're going to go ahead and pre-punch this, pre-punch this, and we're going to do a then we'll sand that. This will be our open side. So we'll have to go ahead and finish this whole edge here and this whole edge here. We'll have to finish it prior to putting these together. Once we put these together, then we will punch both of these together down through here and down through here. But we want to punch this and this before we join them together, okay? So knowing that, this will be our open side. This will be our hinge side. And how that's important is because when we flip this over, like I was going to get ready to show you, was we'll need to put holes on this side. I'm sorry. Yes, we will put holes on this side, and it's going to be basically to hold this pocket to this pocket, okay? But it's not going to hold these two pieces together. So it's just going to be this piece and this piece. That's what that stitch is going to be for. And this stitch here is going to be for that piece and this piece, okay? Then this stitch here will be for this piece and that piece. And then there's going to be no stitches on this. This is going to be just completely stitched down and over, okay? This side and this side will be completely done, sanded, burnished before we finish and punch, glue. We'll go glue and punch this side and then stitch this side. This will all be done. These will be the last things that we do, okay? So I had to explain all that to you so that in your mind's eye you can look at it and go, okay, if I had the wallet like this is going to be my inside. So yeah, I need to punch holes here and here. Nothing here right now. And nothing here right now, okay? And then one side is going to be phantom stitching, just so that it matches. And I'll show you that here in a minute too. It's going to be for aesthetics only. And some people, some leather people say that they don't do stitching just for aesthetics only, but you know, I do in certain instances, and this is one of them, because I think it's necessary. So this one, we're going to want to come one tooth over, and so we'll go ahead and knock that in, okay? And I'm not knocking these all the way through because I'm just showing you how we're going to do it, and then off camera I'm going to go ahead and punch this the rest of the way through so that I'm not hammering like crazy on this table. So again, with one tooth over, one tooth in that hole that we punch going down this way, that's going to make our intersection. We're going to go ahead and give this a punch. So that's going to give us even stitching. So we'll typically stitch down, back stitch, then we'll back stitch, come down, back stitch, and then this one will come up and back stitch. Okay? So based on that, so we'll go ahead and put this on here. Make sure we got that perfectly on there. So it straightens that up a little bit. Go ahead and put these directly on the line. Okay. This will go directly on the line. Okay. This will go directly on the line. And then this one here, we're going to go one stitch over, but we can't because it's not going to fit. So this case, what's going to happen is, since I punched these holes, if I took one tooth off, these teeth won't really marry up. You can see we're a little bit short there. But if I kind of go ahead and push this in a little bit, come out just on the outside of the edge of this hole, okay? If I come in one hole and say, if I go ahead and punch this here, come out just a little bit, which then lines this tooth right here up. This tooth right here is going to line up right on that hole. So what we're going to do, instead of punching it right here, since this is going to be the L, we're going to move this so this tooth is just on that vertical and horizontal turn here, which will pull those out just a hair, which will make those a little wider. Something that the human eye is not going to pick up, but it also is going to make it look like that our holes are even all the way across. Because on this side, we had one tooth hanging over, and then we got equal spacing. We got equal spacing coming all the way down, but we wouldn't have equal spacing here at the end. But by doing this little trick where we push these teeth on the outside of these holes, right? So instead of being in the holes, we pushed them on the very outside. And tip that up, put that hole, it puts it right there. And then as we come around and hang one tooth off and put this second tooth right on the line, okay? Put these right on the line. What we're doing is we're kind of making we're making this hole marry up this way and this way, where traditionally it didn't quite fit perfectly. So that's a little trick you can use. And what I like to do is when I do one coming back up, I like to start over here and come down, because if I keep going up like this, and then it does, as I'm sitting there, and then this hole's here, if I go to punch it again, it's gonna, this tooth here is gonna cut that thing in half, and this is gonna slice, and then your pocket's gonna wanna rip, and you don't wanna do that. You want it clean like this. So you always wanna put one tooth off and go ahead and punch it, and then come back and see if it lines up. And it did in this case. If it doesn't, then that's where you move it back and forth ever so slightly, just enough where it satisfies the masses, and then smack it, and then everything lines up perfect. Okay? And then when you stitch that, it'll look like everything lines up perfect, when in fact it wasn't a perfect lineup. I know it's kind of a lot, but when I teach you guys this in the classes, we will go over this in depth, because this is very important, and you've got to know how to fix these little mistakes that will be inherently in the pattern or in your, especially if you hand cut, because sometimes when you hand cut, you don't hand cut perfectly. These were stamped out, and they're still not quite perfect. But, we can also have some error in gluing, which I try to get pretty daggum close. And usually I'm within 1/64 of an inch. And that's what I've always told people, my customers. This wallet will usually be made within 1/64 eighth of an inch everywhere. Based on that, the naked eye wouldn't see any type of errors that I may have in this wallet, and it'll look perfect. Okay? So, now, this, even though I put these holes here, this is going to be my hinge side. So obviously, when I put that top on here, and I get that all lined up where it's supposed to go, then I'm going to turn this over, right? And make sure all that lines up. And then I'll go back and I'll punch these holes all the way through both sets of leathers. And when I line this up with this, when I punch these holes, that last hole should then come at the top of this particular piece. And then that hole comes on the outside of that particular piece, which is perfect. And then here we haven't punched our holes yet, and I won't do that because we won't need to do anything with these. We will this, but this doesn't get stitched beforehand because there's no stitching goes in here because this is a round. Okay? So this and this will only get stitched when these are married together. This will have to get pre-stitched before we put things together, okay? Because this will be an open edge and that'll be an open edge. So that gets stitched, then we'll go ahead and trim this up. We can go ahead and trim that up right now. And we'll go ahead and do the same way we've trimmed the other ones up. Okay. There. And here. And ever so slightly trim that up. There we go. Makes that nice. Nothing to trim there. And since this is going to be our free open spot, I call it the free freehand, because it's not gluing to anything. We'll go ahead and knock our stitches in here because it's going to be, these two are getting stitched together and not these. So we can go ahead and pop our holes in here. So hang one over, put this in here like so. And this, maybe it doesn't make sense right now, and I hope I'm not trying to over explain it, but once it comes together you'll be like, oh, I understand. So, and then you'll understand why you've got to kind of look at these and know why you're looking at them the way you look at them. But I always remember that this piece here, this curve, this small end that doesn't get stitched here, that's going to be your free side, your free non-hinged side. I call it non-hinged. This will be the hinge side, so we don't do anything with the stitching. We'll go ahead and trim it, but we will not do anything with the stitching, okay? So we'll go ahead and knock that in. So we know we're going to stitch that. And we're going to go ahead and cut these off because these are ready to come off. So we'll go ahead and get that ready. Trim that. Trim that. Okay. This is going to be our hinge side, and that will get stitched with everything. The whole sandwich. The whole sandwich gets stitched on this side. So taking that off, and we can go ahead and kind of give it a little sand, but we've cut it pretty good. I'll probably give it a little quick sand just to take any of the glue, because I can feel a little glue in there. So I'll probably just give it a quick little sand just to bring the dried glue off of there. Okay? And then we will not draw our line on this side yet, so we don't confuse ourselves. We won't draw our lines here, here, or here until the whole enchilada gets married together. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is, off camera, I'm going to go back and smack these points in. I'm going to go to the bench and smack these and these in. I'm going to stitch that. I'm going to stitch this. And I'm going to smack these in and stitch that. And then I'm going to come back, because once that's all done, that'll be stitched. This will be stitched. And the next thing we'll do will be to put our buttons in. And once those get put in, then we will marry these together and we will create our sandwich like this. And we'll go ahead and glue this. Go ahead and we'll punch that all the way through. We'll stitch that, and then this gets bent over like that, and then this will get bent behind it, just like we've done our other wallets in the past. And you remember how we've done that. And then this will get marked, and then stitched, and then this wallet will be complete. Okay? So this is where we're ending with this video. And we'll be back in a hot leather minute. Take care.